And now I am privileged to introduce to my friend Paul from Voice of Martyrs, who is going to be sharing with us, Lawson, some highlights of his recent trip for some of the Islamic strongholds in Southeast Asia and many more. So, Paul, good morning to you. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Sorry, Paul, can you hear us?
Yeah, hear you.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Paul, can you tell us a little bit about, your recent trip? Where did you go? Sorry for the hiccup here. So, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you, Jeffy.
Oh, fantastic. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your recent journey to Southeast Asia, particularly to the Muslim majority pockets there? How did it go?
Well, it was successful and it was fruitful. It was encouraging as well, seeing the faith of our brothers and sisters, despite the stronghold that they're living in. And we always tell them they're like living in a cell, a big cell, that yes, they can do still things their way, but then their faith, with regard to their faith, they are stopped from exercising it.
Okay, so which countries are we talking about?
These are countries. I'm sorry if I can't name it specifically.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Yeah, this is for security reasons because it's more of security for them than for us. Because the last time that I visited them, the next day they were interrogated by the police and was asked, why is foreigners going to your house? And they just said, well, they love durian. They want to eat durian. Do you eat durian?
Durian. I know durian. I haven't eaten it before. I know that it has a very, very strong smell. But okay, so... Okay, so let me understand here. So you visited some countries, of course, for safety issues. You're not able to disclose what it is, and I think that is fair enough. But we're talking about some countries with a significant level of persecution for Christians, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about that story. So when the police inquired them, hey, what are these people doing in your home? So they came to that level of scrutiny and investigation. They had to find out a way of not exposing the Christian nature of the meeting. And I'm pretty sure that durian was involved in that meeting, because what could happen to them if the police is suspecting that they are hosting, let's say, Christian missionaries at home?
Well, yes, durian is part of their life. But then, yes, once they're found out with believers, especially if they're trying to proselyte or having some missionaries there, the very first thing that will happen to them is that they'll be detained for 24 hours. There'll be questions. They'll be asked about, what are the things that you're talking about? What are the things that you are discussing? Normally, it's all about hold. It's all about control. They just want to control everything. The moment we arrive in that house, a drone was already flying above that house, just to do surveillance. And I was shocked that they were doing that in that area. So that's why, knowing that situation and still seeing the faith of our brothers and sisters, that despite that, they still gather. Of course, they don't gather in much numbers because it would really get suspicious. But if they're gathering 5, 6, well, that's just like a little house gathering or just a visitor visiting a friend and just talking about something. But with that, that was really an amazing thing. And if you don't mind, let me share you a story that I just got from them.
Okay.
This happened 2 weeks ago. This house church, they call this house church, Little House Church, where they have 4 families. And then they go together for about 4 years now. And this other family was going with them for about 3 years. And they did not suspect that this family would give their names to the police. So Just to cut the story short, after 3 years, this family for the sake of the reward, because there's a reward system that if you could pinpoint some people that are gathering, especially if they're Christians, you could get a reward. And the reward was about $300. So this
Wow.
family reported 3 others and the pastor to the police. And on that day, they were captured. They were kept for 24 hours. They were interrogated. They were asked a lot of questions. What are you doing? What are you discussing? And all these things. And, well, the 3 families were traumatized. They did not expect that one of them would
Them in.
diverge, them to the authorities, and with that, they can't even speak. They can't even talk through the phone. They can't even send a chat or a text because even their phones are tapped now. Because their phones were confiscated and they were tapped now, so that they would know who's who, if there are other people involved, if what is happening in that area. So right now, these 3 families really are in shock. For 2 weeks now, they're still in disbelief that a believer, a brother, a sister that they have been for 3 years, all of a sudden did that to them.
Wow. It is very shocking. Look, it's not shocking. I mean, Jesus told us that would happen. Know that even father would be, handing over son, and son, will be handing over father. Even like the closest of friends would be handing over one another. But this is definitely the kind of thing that if it happens to anyone, certainly if it would happen to me, like you would be in such a perplexity. It's certainly something that you don't expect. So, Paul, well, that is actually quite surprised as well, and quite alarmed and startled that you mentioned that just by getting into that particular home, you could already see surveillance drones on top of that, trying to figure out who's coming and what's being done. What kind of precautions? I do not know if you can get much into that at all, but what kind of precautions Christians in countries such as this one need to make if they want to, meet with one another to worship God?
Well, there are a lot of things like sometimes they just bring a cake and go visit a house and say, we're just celebrating a birthday. But the truth is they're already worshiping. So they don't stay in one house often. They go from one house to another house, and they don't gather as much people, just not to create a noise or create an attention, telling the authorities that they're gathering. And of course, one of the reasons why they're being surveillance, because their pastor was part of the government before and gave up being a Muslim and became a Christian. And that was really a thing that they were really observing him, trying to see what's happening now and trying to see who is he meeting, what kind of people is he meeting. It's difficult because everything that he's supposed to get from the government, because he retired from serving the government, you should have a pension. But then because of being a Christian, because of being a believer, especially a leader of a church, then that was stripped off.
Wow.
And of course, that would be a problem for the family, especially if you're depending on that. I mean, you don't have any work anymore because you're retired.
Wow.
So it's just faith in the Lord and love for the Lord that lets them continue and serve Him despite all these.
No, imagine losing your pension because you have accepted the Lord Jesus. But just to show how Jesus is worth more than any money, any gold for those who have found him. My question is, like, why do you think that countries such as this, Paul, would have such a harsh persecution on Christians? Do Christians have some kind of national or political aspirations in these countries? Are they planning to secretly overthrow the government? Because when I read my Bible, Christians should be actually the best citizens in any society that you can possibly imagine. Why do you think there's such a persecution against them?
Well, they just hate Jesus. They just think maybe that their religion is better than Christianity, than Jesus. Yeah, that's true. That these Christians doesn't have political aspiration, doesn't have anything that if you're the government would think that they want to overthrow the government. They just want to show Jesus' love, and they just want to gather as believers, as family in the Lord. And normally with these kinds of countries, just like communist countries, they just want control. They just want people to abide to whatever they want to say and whatever they want to tell the people. And if you're defiant, if you don't want to follow it, of course, that's where they would say that you're disobedient. You're not submitting to the authority. You're not submitting to the government. So you should be punished. But these believers, they're not showing anything like any hate at all. They're just showing love, but it's just that they're not allowed to exercise their faith, not allowed to exercise the love for the Lord. Even though you put them in prison, they would still show love to you. But they don't see that. They just see otherwise. So that's why it's really encouraging seeing their faith. Unlike us here, been living in all this freedom, but not truly exercising the faith and the love that we have for the Lord Jesus Christ, so that others can see that we are true believers. We're just following the Lord, and we follow what His command is, because we know He's the way, the truth, and the life.
Absolutely. Look, I love what you said that, and I can see there's definitely a spiritual element there. You know, there's a spiritual persecution going on with the human agents being the instruments of Satan, but in reality, there's no human reason of why you would be persecuting these people in that way. Paul, we have a couple of minutes left only, but I actually wanted just to change the topic a little bit and changing countries. I actually wanted to ask what's going on in Brunei? What's developing there, and what's happening to Christians in that country?
Well, it's getting harder for them because the government, like if you're a believer, and you will really be poor there. Because the government is Muslim, and they're a wealthy nation. And if you're a Christian and you've been active, what the government will do is they will come to your house and ask you to convert to Islam. And in return, they will build you a house, they will give you a work, and they will give you money. Once you agree with that, the next day, the military would come to your house, build or your place, build you a house, give you a money, and also maybe a car. That's why it's very difficult for Christians to grow in numbers there, because some people are just poor and they wanted to have those things. So it takes really real faith in the Lord to grow, because you would be truly against everything that you see materially, and you would also be against people that might turn you on or turn you over to the government because you're a believer. So yeah, but although Brunei is a beautiful country, they're opening their country for tourists, but for believers it's just difficult to live in that land because you're not free to exercise your faith.
Wow, that's amazing. What a development. Paul, thank you so much. Paul from Voice of the Martyrs. So vom.com.au, download their app, support their ministry. They're doing incredible work in helping out those brothers and sisters who are paying the ultimate price for following the Lord Jesus. And we here from the West, here from Australia, we can support them. We can share on their burdens and give them a little bit of a respite and Christian love from this side of the country, this side of the world.